Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to UTM. Visheshika Prabhu is a bit delayed right now, and so we'll just get started with our Chad before he comes. And of course, as usual in UTM, we will start with a prayer. So I request everyone to just turn on your video, ready to get started. And the way the prayer works is that we will nominate someone, and then someone else can second that nomination, and then we request them to give a prayer. And I'll put the prayer format in the chat. In the meantime, does anyone want to make a nomination? Let's say we got Rian nominating Keisha. We got Mayuri with Sia. Let's get a seconding. Let's see who's gonna win the tie. Okay. Keshav got a few seconds. Okay, Keshav, you want to make the prayer? Here, I just put the format in the chat.
Dear Radha Madhav and Nrsimhadev and Srila Prabhupada, if you so desire, please make this UTM successful in helping us writing our own constitution and to benefit from this devotee association. Please consider a humble request.
Thank you so much, Keshav. That was a wonderful prayer. It's a great way to start today. And then now we will be getting into our Chad. And so today we'll just do translations of the 11th chapter, the first half of it. And let's see, why don't we do three per person? So three translations, and please just read slowly, take your time with it, and we'll try to absorb and retain as much as we can. And so, would anyone like to get us started? I can get started then. Okay, Arav, perfect. And yeah, please raise your hands, participate.
Hare Krishna. Arjuna said, by my hearing the instructions you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subjects, my illusion has now been dispelled. Artist-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity and have realized your inexhaustible glories. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours.
If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that unlimited universal self. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, O son of Pratha, see my now opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied, divine and multicolored forms. O best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumaras, and all the other demigods. Behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard before.
O Arjuna, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see, and whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything, moving and non-moving, is here, completely in one place.
Hello, Chandra, I think your mic is a bit low.
Thank you. And this should be... Is this better? Okay. But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore I give you divine eyes. Behold my mystic opulence. Sanjaya said, O king, I have spoken thus. The Supreme Lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjuna.
Arjuna saw that in that universal form of unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited and wonderful visions, the form was decorated with many celestial ornaments, bore many divine and praised weapons. He wore celestial garlands and garments, and many divine scents were smeared all over his body. All was wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, all expanding. If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands.
Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna bowed his head to offer obeisances, and with folded hands began to pray to the Supreme Lord. Arjuna said, "My dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and all the sages and divine serpents. O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see in your body many, many arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, expanded everywhere without limit. I see in you no end, no middle, and no beginning."
Your form is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence, spreading on all sides like blazing fire, or the immeasurable radiance of the sun. Yet I see this glowing form everywhere, adorned with various crowns, globes, and discs. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the ultimate resting place of all this universe. You are inexhaustible, and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of the eternal religion, the personality of Godhead. This is my opinion.
You are without origin, middle, or end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance. Although you are one, you spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between. O Great One, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are perturbed. All the ghosts of demigods are surrendering before you and entering you. Some of them, very much afraid, are offering prayers with folded hands. Hosts of great sages and perfected beings crying, "All peace," are praying to you by singing the Vedic hymns.
All various manifestations of Lord Shiva, the Aditis and the Vasus and the Satyas, the Visvedas, the two Asvis, the Marutas, the forefathers, the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, and the perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder.
Thank you everyone for participating in our reading, the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And now Chaitanya Nitai Nam will take us in to read one of the purports.
Hare Krishna. Can we pull up 11.14? All right. Translation. Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna bowed his head to offer obeisances and with folded hands began to pray the Supreme Lord. Purport. Once the divine vision is revealed, the relationship between Krishna and Arjuna changes immediately. Before, Krishna and Arjuna had a relationship based on friendship, but here, after the revelation, Arjuna is offering obeisances with great respect, and with folded hands he's praying to Krishna. He is praising the universal form. Thus, Arjuna's relationship becomes one of wonder rather than friendship. Great devotees see Krishna as the reservoir of all relationships. In the scriptures, there are 12 basic kinds of relationships mentioned, and all of them are present in Krishna. It is said that he is the ocean of all the relationships exchanged between two living entities, between the gods or between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Here, Arjuna was inspired by the relationship of wonder, and in that wonder, although he was by nature very sober, calm, and quiet, he became ecstatic. His hair stood up, and he began to offer his obeisances unto the Supreme Lord with folded hands. He was not, of course, afraid. He was affected by the wonders of the Supreme Lord. The immediate context is wonder. His natural loving friendship was overwhelmed by wonder, and thus he reacted in this way. There's a lot of the mention of the word wonder in this purport, which is really interesting. And Prabhupada, I think, intentionally repeats that because it, I think in a previous verse in the purport, it also said Arjuna was afraid, but Prabhupada is kind of rehashing that, saying it's not so much fear, but it's wonder. And after seeing the universal form a few verses before this, it looks like Arjuna is just struck with, of course, wonder, but the awe and reverence aspect that people generally would have with regard to the universal form. So this is, of course, looking at or indicative of how people would not naturally react to the universal form of Krishna. Would anyone like to share any points they picked up on or noticed or liked? Yes, Arya?
So Arjuna was like, he thought Krishna was just a normal person. They were just friends. But once Krishna showed his universal form, Arjuna started to bow down because he was like so amazed that Krishna was his friend, but he is actually supreme, the supreme person.
Yeah, exactly. The entire relationship or the dynamic between Krishna and Arjuna is visibly changed in this situation because of how they used to be so friendly and almost like on the same level. But as soon as the universal form was displayed by Krishna, the entire dynamic changed between them. Kirtaniya Gora.
I actually had a question. Um, so in this, like, aren't there like levels of your relationship with Krishna, like Dasiras and then Sakiras and like that, Vatslayas, like it keeps going, right? And but like that at first they were like in a friendly relationship, but then later on after seeing the universal form, like he becomes like in awe and reverence, kind of, right? Because it's saying like wonder and stuff. So is it like a step down or like, I don't know, but yeah, is it like a step down or something? But because like isn't like it like their relationship more intense in like Sakura's because like they're joking and everything?
Yeah, for sure. Sakyarasa is one of those rasas that people, devotees, would have with Krishna in the spiritual world, especially. It's not something that even pertains to the material world because Krishna is inherently spiritual. But the universal form is particularly uh, a manifestation of the entire uh, creation in the material world. So it's, as you said, it's you could put it as a saying it's a step down from how Krishna in his original form as a boy in Vrindavan would have his dealings with his friends or with the older gopis or the cowherd men or the gopis of his age. And all those dealings are taking place in the spiritual world. So it's in a completely different level, of course, as you said. So yeah, there's different levels within the spiritual world as how people have their relationships with Krishna, but the universal form is just completely on a different level entirely. So, and also within the context of the Bhagavad Gita, like in the second chapter itself, or first or second chapter, Arjuna says that he is already submitting to Krishna as looking for instruction because he's so bewildered on the situation of being in the battlefield across from all of his well-wishers and teachers and friends and brothers and relatives. And so he already submits himself to Krishna as, Krishna, you're my teacher, I'm your disciple. Please instruct me and guide me. How do you want me to act? And so, especially this peaks in the 11th chapter, I feel like, where it's not only does he submit to Krishna as a disciple, Krishna being the guru, but he also sees how vastly expansive his forms are with the universal form.
Uh, when you were saying like the last part about how even in the second chapter, like he submitted himself, I was thinking of something else because I'm pretty sure it was 2.7 or something. Yeah, 2.7, like where he says like I'm the student and Krishna, you're my teacher. So like to really understand and like see Krishna, you have to submit yourself, and without that you can't really. Yeah, I've heard it in other places too, like how you need like a bona fide guru to like guide you. So that's what that got me thinking. So thanks.
Thank you, Kirtani Agor. That was really excellent and also a good tie-in. Do you know a verse that might support what you just said? It's pretty much word for word. Kirtani Agor, if you wanna,
Oh,
you know.
sorry. Thanks for answering my question.
Yeah, no problem. There was a verse in the 4th chapter, Tadvidi pranipratena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tat darshana, which says pretty much what the Kirtani Agora said, which is just submit yourself to a spiritual master and someone who's realized the truth. So you need a bona fide spiritual master to guide you as Arjuna submits himself to Krishna. So thank you again for that connection. Rajaras Pavana.
I was also reflecting on the point of the different relationships one may have with Krishna and how you mentioned wonder, or rather Prabhupada mentioned wonder. And I was wondering if I could read a passage from the Nectar of Devotion that talks about this.
Sure, go ahead.
So
Let's hear from it.
it's from chapter 46 of the Nectar of Devotion, and it talks about the astonishment, ecstasy in devotional service, which is related to this wonder. And there's a few paragraphs, but I can just read it. The ecstasy of astonishment in devotional service is perceived in two ways: directly by the experience of one's own eyes, and indirectly by hearing from others. When Narada came to see the activities of the Lord at Dwarka, and he saw that Krishna was present within every palace in the same body, and was engaged in different activities, he was struck with wonder. This is one of the examples of astonishment in devotional service by direct perception. One of the friends of Mother Yashoda said, Yashoda, just see the fun. On the one hand, there is your child who is always captivated by sucking the milk from your breast. And on the other hand, there is the great Govardhan hill, which can obstruct the passing of the clouds. But still, just see how wonderful it is that this Govardhan hill is resting on the finger of your child's left hand, just as though it were a toy. Is this not very mysterious? This statement is another example of astonishment in devotional service by direct perception. An instance of astonishment in devotional service by indirect perception occurred when Maharaj Parikshit heard from Shukadev Goswami about Krishna's killing Narakasura. Fighting with Krishna with 11 Akshoni divisions of soldiers. Each division of Akshoni soldiers contained several thousand elephants, several thousand horses and chariots, and several hundreds of thousands of infantry soldiers. Narakasura possessed 11 such divisions, and all of them were throwing arrows toward Krishna. But Krishna killed them all simply by throwing 3 arrows from his side. When Maharaj Parikshit heard of this wonderful victory, he immediately rubbed the tears from his eyes and became overwhelmed with joy. This instance is an example of astonishment in devotional service by indirect perception through oral reception. There's another example of indirect astonishment, trying to test Krishna to see if he were truly the supreme personality of Godhead. Lord Brahma stole all the cowherd boys and cows from him, but after a few seconds, he saw that Krishna was still present with all the cows, calves, and cowherd boys, exactly in the same way as before. When Lord Brahma described this incident to his associates on the Satyaloka planet, they all became astonished. Brahma told them that after taking away all the boys, he saw Krishna again playing with the same boys in the same fashion. Their bodily complexion was blackish, almost like Krishna's, and they all had 4 arms. The same calves and cows were still present there in the same original fashion. Even while describing this incident, Brahma became almost overwhelmed. And the most astonishing thing, he added, was that many other Brahmas from many different universes had also come there to worship Krishna and his associates. Similarly, when there was a forest fire in the Bandiravan, Krishna instructed his friends to close their eyes tightly, and they all did this. And when Krishna had extinguished the fire, the cowherd boys opened their eyes and saw that they had been relieved from the danger and that their cows and calves were all safe. They began to perceive the wonder of the situation simply by guessing how Krishna had saved them. This is another instance of indirect perception, causing astonishment in devotional service. The activities of a person, even if they are not very extraordinary, create an impression of wonder in the heart and mind of the person's friends. But even very wonderful activities performed by a person who is not one's friend will not create any impression. It is because of love that one's wonderful activities create an impression of the mind in the mind. So I thought it was really nice, especially the last paragraph where Prabhupada states how this wonder it can only be felt by someone who is a friend of Krishna, or rather who loves Krishna and knows Krishna. Otherwise, it can feel very or one can feel very indifferent to it. And so that's why Arjuna was able to really appreciate this form of Krishna as he showed it to him.
Thank you so much, Brother Isabel. That was really nice. And thank you for providing that connection as well. It's good to look at the nectar of devotion and to see that this actually has some merit past this little purport in the Bhagavad Gita. It's a very extensive topic. And I really like the recollection of the pastime with Brahma, as well as the forest fire, but especially in the dealings with Brahma, we always see how the uh, realization that Brahma has. I always look at that pastime, and because we look at how uh, in the Bhagavatam, Brahma obviously submits to Krishna, or the original form of Vishnu, as almost, a spiritual master, and he's the student. And I think, I forgot where I heard it, but Brahma was basically the first student and the first professor of the universe. And even for him to be able to feel that wonder, what to speak of us. So it's always nice to look at that pastime and pick up a new realization for me. Thank you. Haridas?
So I saw in the first verse of this chapter that in the Prabhupada also there's now as far as Arjuna is concerned, he says that his illusion is over. This means that Arjuna no longer thinks of Krishna as a mere human being, as a friend of his, but as the source of everything. So in this purport also it's the same. It says that it's basically almost the same, which means that Arjuna is now understanding who Krishna really is, and that Krishna is not just a friend, but he's also the supreme personality of Godhead.
Thank you, Haridas, for reinforcing that point. It's not just that, of course, and with the passage we just looked at that Bardras had presented, it was these feelings of the people who are most acquainted with Krishna in a special rasa, like friendship or a familial relationship, especially a mother or father looking upon Krishna as their son, or something like that. And going from those kind of relationships that they start off from to a more uh, understanding who Krishna actually is beyond the relationship with him in the spiritual world. That sense of wonder is the most I would imagine at least it's really shocking for them if they realize their little boy or their friend that they always play with is actually God, and they almost go into a sort of denial. We see some pastimes in the Bhagavatam where Yashoda just rejects this idea. No, he's my little boy. There's no way he can be God. I was probably just imagining something, and it's a really uh, nice lesson to learn from it. What do you what do you guys think about, since we're looking on this topic of awe and reverence versus a more close and intimate relationship? Why do you, as devotees, think we should still uh, maintain this practice of offering obeisances rather than why don't we just, have more intimate dealings if we're supposed to have such a intimate relationship with Krishna, if that's the ultimate goal? Dharni Radha?
Um, I think that we should like first start off a relationship with Krishna as with like dasya bhav, because we should first learn to like respect him, because he in the end he's still Bhagwan, he's still God. So we should first learn to appreciate him, respect him, and pay our obeisances before we start having more intimate relationships, because even even in Sakhiras and Madhurya, they still are in awe of Krishna. They just have more intimate relationship, but it all starts off with having like dasya bhav. It all starts off with having like looking up towards him, seeing him as someone unique, as Bhagwan or someone special.
Nice. Yeah, and we're also, that was sort of a trick question, by the way. I don't want to encourage anyone to just jump over the practices that, because we're sadhakas in the beginning, and ultimately the goal is to become more of an intimate devotee, and of course transcend the material world, and go to the spiritual world after this life or any life, hopefully as soon as possible. But while that is the goal, we can't hope to imitate what we could expect later now, because especially in a new stage, we have to still uh, practice all the rules of regulations and the etiquette. That's especially important. So yeah, nice. Well said, Dharni Radha. Does anyone else have? Yeah, Akshita, and then Advaita Chandra.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I think it's important to offer obeisances to Krishna because, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, like man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Like it's important to offer obeisances to Krishna. So first of all, we will get purified, and second of all, to remind us that like we are His servants. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, well said. And it's also looking at the sense that we do everything for Krishna, even at the highest level, as Dharani Radha was saying, even the gopis and those who are in the highest form of loving relationships and exchanges with Krishna, there's still somewhat of a understanding. Advaita Chandra?
Hare Krishna. This is a very nice topic to discuss, actually, and I was remembering a few things. One thing is that if we look at the examples of our acharyas, uh, we will see, the Goswamis, they had achieved prayojan. They had achieved the highest possible sima, the highest limit, and past that of devotional service, realizing their own eternal seva. Of course, they're Nitya Siddha Vaishnavas. But if you see, they still, with pay obeisances, follow the rules very strictly. Sanatan Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, they brought to us the Hari Bhakti Vilas. That's so strict of rules and regulations, how everything should be done. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, please correct me if I'm wrong, used to have a vrat of doing 2000 obeisances, 3000 actually, 2000 to the Vaishnavas and 1000 I think to Vishnu Tattva, I believe. Please do correct me on the details, I'm fuzzy here. But uh, he had this vrata of paying obeisances. And Raghunath Das Goswami, who is, I believe, Rati Manjari, it's not necessary for him. He has all reasons as a Ragatmika Bhakta, not even a Raganuga, Ragatmika Bhakta, to not do that. But still, our acharyas have set that example. And also, there was something Srila Prabhupada um, said that His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj, who's the local GVC for our temple, has ingrained in the Pujari Seva that one should worship Radha Krishna. We have Radha Krishna deities here, like Lakshmi Narayan. Srila Prabhupada said, with the same mood of Lakshmi Narayan, awe and reverence. And that's quite important because otherwise, as we know, the Sahajiya tendency to take things lightly. Sahajiya literally means that going off easy, so to speak, right? We can take something very high, lofty, and make it very cheap. So to avoid that, we should always be safe. It's always safe to keep some awe and reverence, and that way we are unlikely to commit mistakes in that relationship. We can guard against over familiarity. So the Acharya set that example, and Srila Prabhupada himself has given us many instructions. So I got reminded of those instances.
Thank you so much, Advaita Chandra. That was really nice. And also the example, I think Sanatan Goswami, there's another example where even at a very old age, he was doing parikrama of Govardhan and doing obeisances over and over and over again. And he had to be told by, I think, the deity itself, Govindaji, that, you're so old and your health is frail, so you have to stop this. And even though he refused, he ultimately provided the facility to, rather than do the entire parikrama, just do it around one stone because it's as good as the same. And finally, then Sanatana Goswami had to comply. Keshav?
Hare Krishna. So, a few months ago, I was listening to a lecture by Radhika Raman Prabhuji, and in the lecture, he was talking about why is important. So, in that, one subtopic was offering obeisances. He said the reason you put your hands out when you're offering obeisance is because, as Akshita said, surrendering. You're just surrendering all whatever you have to Krishna, and you're just being a servant to Krishna. So that's why obeisances are important.
Thank you, Keshav. And I just saw Marge is here. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Sorry for being late. We had a long program today, and I just got home a little while ago. Great to see you. And don't let me interrupt. Please continue with this very interesting conversation.
Thank you, Keshav. Arya?
So in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a sloka called Tesham Satata Yuktanam, and it means that those who are devoted to Krishna, we can understand the love for Krishna, and Krishna lets us come to him. So we should always obey our services to him. It's because Krishna always loves us, and he is God.
What a nice summary of the conversation that, this whole purport and sorry, there's something but the purport in the passage we looked at as well. It really points to this conclusion that Arya just pointed out, which is really nice. Arav?
Hare Krishna. So one reason to first perform steady devotional service is because it's one of the steps in our process, like Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha. Then it's Bhajana Kriya, where you do the devotional service. And once you get rid of the anarthas, and then you become steady in Krishna consciousness, then you can develop some taste, and then you become attached to Krishna. And then when you get attached to Krishna is when you can really, I think, start to cross that line and then get into the more pastimes. Because when I feel that when we're in that stage, then when we hear the name of Krishna, like if someone were to say Madan Mohan, we should remember about the pastimes of Krishna. Like just automatically, if somebody says the name of, if somebody just says a friend's good name or a good friend's name actually, and then you'll remember what you've done with that friend before. You won't remember that that's just a name. Like I think right now when I hear Krishna, I think Krishna is the holy name. That's I don't think Krishna is my friend. Krishna is uh, my master. I haven't thought like this yet. I feel.
Nice. Yeah, that's the whole point of remembering, as we see a lot in Japa Jolt, but in a lot of other programs as well, or whenever we're chanting, the instruction is, or the goal is at least to remember the name and then the form and the qualities and pastimes. So that's a nice example. I really like that connection. If you have remember a friend's name, you don't just remember them, oh, that's his name, but you also remember like what you've done with them, how it's significant to you. Thank you. Kirtani Agora.
When Advaita Chandra Prabhu was like talking about how all the Goswamis used to do like Dandavats and all, like I was remembering that Sanatan Goswami was also doing like Govardhan Parikram like every day, and so Krishna was telling him not to do it, and so Krishna took a rock from Govardhan and put his like footprint on it and told him this is like as good as Govardhan, and instead of doing the full parikram you can just do this.
That really goes to show, as I forget who mentioned it earlier, I think it was Arya, uh, that Krishna is God and he loves us. So he'll, especially for such exalted devotees as Sanatan Goswami, he went and provided a facility for Sanatan Goswami to still be able to worship and uh, express himself as a devotee and do the obeisances, but not around the entire Govardhan, and just do the parikrama in a simpler way that still conveys his devotion. Right. If that's it, we can move on to the next part of the program, or I'll hand it off to Marge.
Did you do Chad so far?
Yes, yes, Marge. We chanted the first half of chapter 11.
And what prompted the conversation?
We looked at a purport, 11:14, and the summary of the purport was basically Prabhupada pointing out that Arjuna was not so much struck with fear at looking at the universal form of Krishna, but rather a lot of wonder. And the word wonder kept coming up in that purport several times. And we also looked at a passage Brajesh had shown in connection to this idea of wonder and astonishment from the Nectar of Devotion. So we had a really nice conversation around that.
I could tell. I came in near the end of it. It was really an interesting conversation. Thank you. Well, normally, would you be reading a little from the Prabhupada Lilamrita now?
Yeah, we would.
Shall we go for that?
Sure, Brajesh.
Three each?
Yes, Marge.
I volunteer to start. Chapter 16, Free to Preach. Here I am, now sitting in New York. the world's greatest city, such a magnificent city. But my heart is always hankering after that Vrindavan. I shall be very happy to return to my Vrindavan, that sacred place. But then, why are you here? Now, because it is my duty. I have brought some message for you people. Because I have been ordered by my superior, my spiritual master. Whatever you have learned, you should go to the Western countries and you must distribute this knowledge. So in spite of all my difficulties, all my inconveniences, I'm here because I am obligated by duty. From a lecture by Srila Prabhupada. The room 307 was never meant for use as a residence or ashram or lecture hall. It was only a small, narrow office without furniture or a telephone. Its door held a large pane of frosted glass, the kind common in old offices. Above the door was a glass-paned transom. Prabhupada placed his blankets on the floor before his metal footlocker, which now became a makeshift desk where he wrote. He slept on the floor. There were no facilities here for cooking or even for bathing, so daily he had to walk to Dr. Mishra's apartment. When he had lived in room 501 at Dr. Mishra's yoga ashrama, Dr. Mishra had financed his needs, but now Prabhupada was on his own, and whatever he could raise by selling his books, he would have to use for his daily maintenance and for the monthly rent of $72. He noted that for a little powdered chili, the West End superette charged 25 cents, 10 times what he would have paid in India. He had no guaranteed income, his expenses had increased, and his physical comforts had reduced, but at least he had his own place. Now he was free to preach as he liked.
He had come to America to speak about Krishna, and even from the beginning he had found the opportunity to do so, whether at an informal get-together in the Agrawal's living room or before a formal gathering at Butler Lions Club, Dr. Norman Brown's Sanskrit class, Dr. Mishra's Yoga Society, or the Tagore Society. But he did not attach much importance to lecturing where the people who gathered would hear him only once. This was the main reason he wanted his own building in New York, so that people could come regularly, chant Hare Krishna, take prasadam in his company, and hear him speak from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Moving out of the yoga studio into the small office downstairs gave Prabhupada what he was looking for, his own place. But not even euphemistically could that place be called a temple. His name was on the door. Anyone seeking him there could find him. But who would come there? By its opulence and beauty, a temple was supposed to attract people to Krishna, but room 307 was just the opposite. It was bare poverty. Even a person interested in spiritual topics would find it uncomfortable to sit on the rugless floor of a room shaped like a narrow railroad car. One of Dr. Mishra's students had donated a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and Prabhupada recorded some of his solitary bhajans, which he sang to his own accompaniment of hand cymbals. He also recorded a long philosophical essay, Introduction to Gita Upanishad. Even if no one attends, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had told him, you can go on chanting to the four walls. But since he was now free to speak his message in the new situation God had provided, he decided to lecture 3 evenings a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, to whoever would come.
His first audience consisted mainly of people who had heard about him or met him at Dr. Mishra's yoga studio, and despite the poverty of his room, the meetings became a source of new life for him. March 18th. He was expressed his optimism in a letter to Somati Moraji. I was very much encouraged when you wrote to say, I feel that you should stay there until you fully recover from your illness and return only after have completed your mission. I think these lines dedicated by you are the words of Lord Balakrishna expressed through your goodness. You will be pleased to know that I have improved my health and back to normal, and my missionary work is nicely progressing. I hope my project is to start a temple of Sri Sri Radha Krishna will also be realized by the grace of the Lord. Since I came to New York from Butler, Pennsylvania, I have rented the above room at $70 per month, and am delivering lectures on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam accompanied by Sankirtan, and the American ladies and gentlemen come to hear me. You will be surprised to know that they do not understand the language of Sankirtan, yet they hear the movement which
Hear with attention.
The movement which I have started here is completely new to them, because the Americans are generally acquainted with the Indian yoga gymnastics as performed by some Indian yogis here. They have never heard of the bhakti cult of the science of Krishna before, and still they are hearing me. This is a great success for me.
Outside the closed windows of room 307, the late winter night has fallen. Prabhupada's words are punctuated with the muted sounds of car horns and occasional sirens from the street, and sometimes by the startling chords of a lonely foghorn on the Hudson. Although bare, the room is warm. Prabhupada is speaking on the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Now Arjuna is perplexed. He is perplexed about whether to fight or not to fight. After seeing in front of him his relatives with whom he was to fight, he was perplexed, and there was some argument with Krishna. Now here is a point. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada's voice is earnest, persuading. Sometimes his speech becomes high-pitched and breaks with urgency. His cultured British diction bears a heavy Bengali accent.
Suddenly he pauses in his lecture and addresses someone in the room. Prabhupada, what is that? Man, what? Prabhupada, what is this book? Man, well, this is a translation of the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada is obviously displeased that while he is speaking, someone is looking through a book. This is hardly like the respect offered to learned speakers described in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Well, Prabhupada, well, no, you can hear me. Oh, wait, sorry. He is taking the role of a teacher, correcting his student. Of course, there is no compelling reason why any of his casual guests should feel obliged to obey him.
You were right the first time. That was Prabhupada, well, no, you can hear me. And then it goes to the next line, man, I am hearing.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Well, no, you can hear me. Man, I am hearing. Prabhupada, yes, don't turn your attention. Just hear me. He is taking the role of a teacher, correcting his student. Of course, there is no compelling reason why his casual guests should feel obliged to obey him. He simply begs for their attention, and yet demands it. Just hear me, as he attempts to convince them of Krishna consciousness. You have heard that one must accept the spiritual master after careful examination, just as one selects a bride or bridegroom after a careful examination. In India, they are very careful because the marriage of boys and girls takes place under the guidance of the parents, so the parents very carefully see to it. Similarly, one has to accept a spiritual master. It is necessary. According to the Vedic injunctions, everyone should have a spiritual master. Perhaps you have seen a sacred thread. We have got a sacred thread. Mr. Kahan, you have seen sacred thread.
Prabhupada pauses. His audience has not noted the thin white cord he wears between his shirt across the upper part of his body. For thousands of years, Brahmanas in India have worn such threads, placed diagonally across the torso, looped over the left shoulder, and down to the right waist. A Brahmana holds his thread in his right hand while chanting the sacred Gayatri mantra 3 times a day. But this is all strange indeed to the Americans. Prabhupada himself is exotic to them. His grey chadar wrapped around his shoulders, he sits cross-legged and erect on a thin pillow, and they sit facing him on the other side of his trunk, which now serves as a desk and lectern. They are close together in the narrowness of the room. He's frail and small and foreign to them, yet somehow he's completely assured, in a way that has nothing to do with being a foreigner in New York. Visitors sense a strong presence. 2 white lines of clay run neatly vertical on his forehead. His pale peach clothes are gathered in loose folds around his body. He pauses only a few seconds to inquire whether they have seen a sacred thread. That sacred thread is a sign that a person has a spiritual master. Here, of course, there is no such distinction, but according to the Hindu system, a married girl also has some signs so that people can understand that this girl is married. She wears a red mark so that others may know that she's married. And according to the division in the hair, what is this line called? Man, part, Prabhupada, man, part. What is the spelling? Man, part.
Prabhupada. Part. This parting also has some meaning. They know English, and he knows the Gita, but he knows a good deal of English, whereas they know practically nothing of the Gita, which he has to spoon feed to them. But occasionally he asks their help in English vocabulary. When the part is in the middle, the girl has her husband, and she is coming from a respectable family. And if the part is there, then she is a prostitute. With a slight gesture, he raises his hand toward, but never really reaching his head. Yet somehow the half gesture clearly indicates a part on the side of the head. And then again, when a girl is well dressed, it should be understood that she has her husband at home. And when she is not well dressed, it is to be understood that her husband is away from home. You see? And a widow's dress, there are so many symptoms. So similarly, the sacred thread is a sign that a person has accepted a spiritual master, just as the red mark symbolizes that a girl has a husband. Although his audience may be momentarily enamored by what appears to be a description of Indian social customs, a careful listener can grasp the greater context of Prabhupada's speech. Everyone must accept a spiritual master. It's a heavy topic for a casual audience. What is the need of taking a spiritual master? Isn't this just for India? But he says everyone should have a spiritual master. What is a spiritual master anyway? Maybe he means that accepting a spiritual master is just another cultural item from Hinduism, like the thread, or the part in a woman's hair, or the widow's dress. The audience can easily regard his discussion as a kind of cultural exposition, just as one comfortably watches a film about the living habits of people in a foreign land, although one has no intention of adopting these habits as one's own. The Swami is wearing one of those threads on his body, but that's for Hindus, and it doesn't mean that Americans should wear them. But these Hindu beliefs are interesting. Actually, Prabhupada has no motive but to present the absolute truth as he has heard it in cyclic succession. But if anyone in that railroad car-shaped room were to ask himself, should I surrender to a spiritual master? He would be confronted by the existential presence of a genuine guru. One is free to regard his talk as one likes.
Just see how Prabhupada started in a thin little office room that was so austere, but because he was hearing and chanting there and inviting other people in, and people were captured by it, just shows how the main ingredient is the hearing and chanting process. Did any of you who were here last week remember the subject matter that I brought up? I should say, does anybody here who was here last week remember the subject matter that I brought up? Yes, Tarini Radha?
I remember you said we should make a personal constitution and it can have amendments and change it as we change different values in our life.
You have such a good memory. Thank you. Did you think about it during the week at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I tried to think about it, but I'm not exactly sure what to put.
I know the feeling. Did anybody else remember? Does anybody else remember any of the details of what I talked about, Keshav?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I remember that you were talking about the qualities, like your values that you liked. So we got some timer right last UTM. So I was just like during the week, I was just thinking that like what I want to do in the next year and like what values would embody that. And also I was thinking like of my actions, uh, of my actions, and I was like, are they really in line with my values that I've written down so far? So yeah.
Well put, Keshav. Thank you. Mayuri, what do you remember?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I remember that we talked about what are our top 3 values that we wanted to implement for the coming year of 2026. And then we also talked about our priorities that we want to devote more time into. And then we wrote them down and tried to order them from like most important to least.
Excellent. Fantastic. Somebody else had his or her hand up and I couldn't tell who it was. Yes, Haridas.
Hey Krishna Maharaj. So what you taught us last week was that why we should write our constitution, and then you also said what we should include in our constitution, and then as everyone else already said, or what values and priorities, 3 values and priorities, and then you also told us to expand a list of priorities and values.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to those in a minute. I wonder if any of you have opportunity to write anything on paper right now. Madhav's in a car somewhere, or is that a spaceship, Madhav? Are you going to the moon?
I'm in a car right now.
Okay. All right. So if you happen to have your magic wand, which is this is how you can manifest anything you want in your life, your magic wand. And if you have some paper, personally, I always have paper because this is my notebook I always carry with me. It's small, right? About the size of my hand. Anytime I have an idea, I always write it in this book. Because the basic principle is you should always have a place for your thoughts and ideas to land. If they don't have a place to land, they just float away and you never see them again. Just like when you're in the garden and you see a butterfly and you think it's the most beautiful thing, and then it just flutters away and you never see it again. Same thing when you get a good idea, it's good to have a place where it can land, and you catch all your ideas in some place where you can write them down because they're very valuable. So the third point I wanted to make today, before I show any slides, is about goal setting. And this is going to go along with the formation of your constitution. And in the practice of goal setting, there's one simple rule. Would you like to hear what it is? Let's vote, because it's a democracy. Brajaras Bhavana, did it pass? It
Yes.
passed? Okay. Boy, that was a close election. Whew. I felt really nervous about that. Here's the rule. Decide what you want and write it down. So, if you take some time to decide what you want and you write it down on paper, it'll take on a special significance in your life because you thought about it. That's special. And then you committed it to paper. You can always amend what you write, but it's good to get those things on paper. And especially around this time of year, Vrinda, because we're going right towards the beginning of the next year, right? If you start now and think of the things that you want to achieve, that you want to improve in, and you start writing them down and putting them in categories, then you can look forward to the calendar turning over into the next year because you'll be ready for it for the next year. Now, I'll say a few more things about goal setting. There are different categories that you can make under which you can write some goals. Let me suggest a couple, and then I'd like to hear from you. One is health. Another is family. Those are two. Now I want to see if you have any categories under which you think you could write a goal or two. Suggest other categories that might be big, broad categories like the one I said. Sia.
Like Krishna consciousness or your sadhana?
Definitely. There's a lot we can do there, right? Okay, Arya.
Education.
Yep, because you're right in the thick of it, right? What are you, a freshman in college now, Arya?
Yes.
Yeah, or you will be soon, so that's a good place to make some goals. Keshav?
Mental stuff like focus and just like mental stuff that you need to do, like controlling your mind to focus.
Yeah, ways to control the mind. Sia, are you back for another one, or is your hand still up from the last time? That's all right. Tarini Radha?
Friendships and like keeping healthy relationships.
Definitely something you could put down there. Nitai, anything from your side?
Might be devotee association.
Yeah, devotee association, fantastic. Mayuri?
Instruments.
Like which instruments you want to learn?
Yeah, and like practicing.
Definitely. What are you going to put down there? Trombone?
Violin.
Violin. Okay. Very good. Arav.
Hare Krishna. Sports also.
Yeah, sports. You want to make it on your Atlanta Falcons there team. Okay, Vrinda.
Health.
Health. Yeah, definitely. It's a really important category, isn't it? And for the close, let's take Advaita Chandra.
This is something I used to always overlook, but now I'm realizing the importance of it. Emotional, like what we're doing right now, emotional awareness. Always add something each year. Journaling, like I really love your idea of that small book. I'm going to start carrying that because I feel how ideas drift away. And I said, wait, what was that I wanted to implement? And I just can't remember. So yeah, like those kind of small things like journaling or like keep being more active with my
I
writing,
love that.
etc.
It's a really progressive, important goal. One of my godbrothers, Tejas, who was Prabhupada's personal servant for a long time, he stayed with Prabhupada in several places, and Prabhupada imparted to him many lessons. Tejas is a very intelligent person, so Prabhupada told him a lot of stuff. And one of the things he said was, in Kali Yuga, remembering means writing it down. Isn't that nice? So there are some categories. Now, what kind of periods of time do you think you could set? Because setting goals is completed by making a completion point. And you say by such a date. So what time periods do you think could be effective in setting goals? Tarini Radha.
I think for each goal it would be different. So like for health it would be, and like I would say like for the next 5 years, because as you get older you sometimes have different health needs, and you might, if you like develop something or you have different health needs. But if it's like education, then you could do like until high school, and then in high school you can change it, and then you can have another goal for high school, like that.
I love that. Such clear thinking, Tarini Radha. Thank you. Sia.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I love Tarini Radha's point, and I also like to add on that along with the topic being different, I feel like either inside each topic you can also have like weekly goals. Like for education, you can have like a I'm gonna study for this test type of goal, but then you can also have I'm gonna hope to study well in general, just so I can get into the college. So there's like different levels of goals, and then for each section.
Brilliant. I love that. Very practical. Now, if you think about it, it's yours to decide. You can decide which categories you want to make, then which specific things you want to put. And Brajaraj Bhavana Prabhu put one of my favorites, which is 1 minute goals. I'll tell you a secret about how I get a lot of things done. Not that I get that many things done, but how I get some things done when it feels like I'm not going to get something done. Should I reveal it to you? Oh, all right. 1 second. I'll be right back. Did I already show you this? Non-digital. It's a countdown timer. So if I wanted to set a 5 minute goal, I could set my timer at 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, life seems different because I got 5 minutes to complete my goal. Now, of course, I'd have to pick something I can complete in 5 minutes, but I could also set it to 1 minute, 30 minutes, an hour, and so forth. And all of a sudden I'm feeling energized because I set myself a goal and now I'm moving forward. And it works the same if you set it for 30 days or a year or 5 years and so forth. Let's hear from Mayuri. What do you got?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So usually I would do the same thing, like if we had to tidy the house or if we had to do the dishes, I would kind of make it like with the timer, but I'd kind of make it like a competition because I have a sibling and competition is necessary. So that's what I would usually do, and make it into a competition so that it's guaranteed.
Wow. You think a lot like I do, or I think a lot like you do. That's great. I like it. Arav.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I just had one question. If we're setting, say, a goal that'll be hopefully lifelong, like a lifelong goal, like say the goal is to get Krishna Prema or something like that could even go beyond lifetime. So how would we only have to set that once, or would we have to keep setting that just to bring ourselves back?
Well, let's say you've set a 108-year goal and you only live to 107. And I wish you that you may live in great health until you're 108. But let's just say you make the 107. Then in your next life, Krishna will remind you, Asal gunamayer baver buta sukshmendriyatma biswa nirmiteshu nirvishta bhukte bhuteshu tadgunan. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami says, first canto, second chapter, that even after the whole universe is destroyed, and then everybody's remanifest from Mahavishnu into the material world again, at that time the Lord reminds each soul where they were in the last life so they can take up. It's kind of like a little pause button, and then all of a sudden it just turns back on again. So yeah, you can take it up. Whatever desire you have, you can manifest in your life by taking time systematically on your Krishna conscious goals, Krishna, or any goals for that matter, Krishna will remind you of. Okay, Nitai.
Where do we buy the timer?
Where do you get it online? It's called, and by the way, I mean, it's nice, but it's not, I mean, it's made in some far out country, so I can't guarantee the quality. I've gone through a couple of these. It's called Yun. Here, I'll write it because it's too hard to pronounce. By the way, I don't get a cut. That's the name of it. You can get them on Amazon. I have two of them. I keep one in my suitcase so when I travel I can use it. And I keep one on my desk here so I can keep doing stuff, getting things done. Okay, Manhar, and then we'll go on to the next topic.
I have a question.
Yes.
So does the goal have to be like for the whole year, or can it just be like for a week or a month or something?
Yeah, you can make one for 30 days or a week or a year or 5 years. It's all up to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so now what's the rule for making goals? It's decide what you want and write it down. So why don't you try? Let's do one for sadhana. Under the category of your sadhana, why don't you just brainstorm these? You don't have to commit to these yet, but just brainstorm, see what it feels like to write 2 or 3 ideas for goals for coming into 2026 and how you might improve your sadhana. How's that sound? I'll give you a minute and a half to write down a few things.
Battery 90%. Connected to iPhone 237.
Okay? How did it go, Kirtani Agora?
Pretty good. I got a few things down. I got like hearing to lectures more because like these days I don't get much time because of like school and homework and all. And I also had like finishing my rounds before 6 p.m. Yeah.
Okay, Kirtani Agora, I like those very much. Let me give a few thoughts and suggestions that any of us can use. The second one, well, let me ask you, out of the two, which was more specific that you wrote there, Kirtani Agora?
The second one.
Why?
Because it had like a time and when I should finish them by.
Yeah, and what'd the first one say?
Just like hearing more.
Right. So the first one doesn't have any teeth because there's nothing that locks you into a particular number. The second one has a specific number on it, which says 6 p.m. Is it 6 p.m.? You'll finish your rounds by
Yeah.
6 p.m.? Yeah. So that one has some forced efficiency to it. The other one more, well, we don't know exactly what it means. So my suggestion is that when you make goals, make them very specific. For instance, if you're going to talk about a number, then remember what Srinivasacharya said about the six Goswamis. It's in my head right now. Who can tell what I'm thinking? For 20 points. And wait to Chandra knows. Go ahead.
Are you thinking of Sankhya Purvaka Namagana
20
Natibika?
points to wait to Chandra. Yeah, Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Nati B. Srinivasacharya said, and you were talking about this when I came on the call, and that is the Goswamis counted everything. Sankhya. So put the number, make it specific. Who else has something they wrote down you want to share? Sadhana goals for 2026. Sharing means caring. Keshav.
One goal is for me spending at least 15 minutes doing focused chanting because I do chanting, but it's like not focused or good. So I just want to spend some time on that.
So your goal is you'll chant at least, did you say?
So I'll chant, but like I'll spend 15 minutes when I chant doing it in a focused manner.
Okay, sounds good. Very good. I have another little tweak suggestion. This is almost like legalese, but it's really helpful when you write goals. If you put a number like 15 minutes, you can always put a prefix to it that says at least. As if then you feel free to do more if you want. Say, every day I will do at least. Now, here's another little trick that I've heard, and this is the way I always do it because I've heard there's some psychological significance to it. And the explanation goes like this. When you write down your goal, you're telling your mind the state you want to attain. So when you write it in the present tense, then your mind doesn't distinguish between the present, the past, and the future. He just assumes you're already doing it, and that helps you move closer to your goal. So if I was going to do that, Keshav, with your statement and including it at least in front, how would you say it?
I spend at least 15 minutes
Because you said
chanting
I will send.
in a focused manner. No,
Okay, so
I
whatever.
said I said I spend 15 minutes doing it.
At least.
Yeah.
Yes, that sounds good. Present tense and
Okay.
put at least in front of it. Go ahead, Sia. Nicely done, Keshav.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. One of the goals that I have for 2026, I haven't decided the number exactly yet, but I think like memorizing at least like 40 to 50 Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam shlokas because I don't know that many so far.
Is that for the year?
Yeah, but it might. I think it might be more. I don't know. I'm still thinking about how many.
Yeah, thinking about what you want to do, and that's good because then when you get the thinking process, you can get a little more granular in it. For instance, if you say, I'm going to do at least 50, remember present tense, I memorize at least 50 verses. So then you might think about how long how long it takes you to memorize a verse. Then you might think of, are you going to do one a week or something like that? You can kind of break it down and get an estimate for what it would take for you. How many weeks do you get in a year up in Seattle? How many do they give you there?
I don't know. And I'm going to India right now, so It might
Oh,
be a little
India.
different.
They give you more weeks in India per year, right? So yeah, you figure out how many weeks, months, whatever, and you say this is how long it takes to do each one, and then the more reasonable it sounds to you, and then the more you divide it into little time periods, the more that you then it is plausible to your mind, the more likely you are to do it. Nice, Sia. Have a nice trip to India. Hope we see you over there.
Thank you, Raj.
Kaylee.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I was thinking to like include my regular activities and do it for at least like 1.5 hour, and also include spiritual activities in my my day for at least 1.5 to 2 hours,
What are your regular activities?
like homework or like schoolwork or like classes.
And so restate your goal so we can understand what it is.
So I would like practice my regular like activities for at least like 1 to 1.5 hour, while I will like also include my spiritual activities to 1.5 hour, so I can like level it up.
Okay, Keshav, how could she make it more specific?
I didn't really clearly hear her goal that well. It was
Okay,
breaking
well,
up.
that doesn't help then. Need to know if it's clear or not. Rajras Bhavana, do you have any clarity on this? How you could help her make it more specific and clear?
I think we could break it down by each activity, um, as much as we can, and then also maybe we could be more practical because sometimes it may be hard to like squeeze everything in one day in just like an hour and a half, even though that might be like the norm. So we could have something a little more practical that's more achievable for her.
I love the point, and here's another thought just in general, and that is with goals, it can be very helpful to start with something that you know you can manage or that it sounds on the easier side. Now, not always. Sometimes you want to have goals that push you a little further, but especially for things that you do every single day, because even the smallest things that you have to do every day tend to get unwieldy after a little while, and it seems harder. Oh boy, we're running out of time. Manhar.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, one of my goals was to finish at least 12 rounds in the morning before going to school.
Okay, and how would you say it in the present tense?
Uh, to start, I will start,
I finish
I finish 12
at
rounds,
least
at least 12 rounds in the morning before going to school.
every day.
Yeah, every day.
I finish at least 12 rounds every day before going to school. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Did you write it down?
Yeah.
How does it feel?
It feels good.
Feels like you got to set your alarm clock now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Manhar. Who else had their hand up? I missed somebody.
I was going to say my like revised version of
Yep.
like uh but we were running out of time, so
Say it.
okay, so I was gonna hear at least 4 lectures a week.
And do you want to be more specific? Which lectures? I mean, you don't have to tell us now, but get granular as you can. The more you could say, I listen to, and how long are they? Some people give lectures for 2.5 hours. You're going to listen to 4 of those a week or whatever. The more you can be specific to start off with, and then if you have at least at the beginning, you're always free to increase it. But that way it keeps you in the game if they're shorter too. Okay?
Yeah.
Nicely done, Kirtania Gore. Okay, Arav, make a quick one because we're running out.
Hare Krishna. I said I sleep at 9:30 p.m. on weekdays and Sunday.
Does that mean you start going to sleep at that time? You start getting ready for bed, or you're already fast asleep by 9 o'clock?
Be be asleep by 9:30.
Okay, then make it specific, because that makes a difference. It takes 15 minutes to get ready, doesn't it? Don't you have to chant Vishnu Sahasranam before you go to bed or something like that? Whatever you have to do to get ready, count that in the time and make it very specific, more present, more very clear what the number is, what the time is. That'll help you, okay? Now, little homework for you all, and that is that you get your paper, notebook, whatever, and your magic wand, and take a little time to write down a few goals in whichever categories you find are very important. Even if it's one goal, it's fine, but do something. Akshita.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, one of my goals was I will sing bhajans in front of the deities for at least 15 minutes daily.
Okay, just take the will out and say, I sing. Okay? I like your goal too. Very nice. It's beautiful. And just how life-changing is that when you apply that? God, we can't stop, Rajarat Bhavan. What can we do? Okay, Surad, you're the last one. Sudrad Manash. Siddhanta bole chihnat na kara alash iha hoite Krishna lagi Sudrad Manash. Go ahead.
One of my goals was I read biographies and autobiographies of great devotees for 30 minutes each day.
That's well written, Surid. I see why they call you that. And I think that's a big goal. That's a huge chunk, but I think it will make a big difference. I like it a lot. It's very interesting. It's your thing now. You can do this. Empower yourself. Take some time. And just to re-mention, we had worked on priorities. That's also very nice. I wrote some priorities. See, I got all my stuff here. I'm doing it too. I wrote it by hand, but then I put it digitally so I don't lose it. And then you can write your values. One value I've been thinking about is patience. And even if you write one value, like patience, that I'm going to work on that, or satisfaction, it gives you the presence of mind. Then also remember to put your goal list. And also, if you want an extra tip, before we go? Make a not to do list. List those things that you want to stop doing and put those on a list. A no-fly list, no-fly zone for certain things that you want to do. And please work on these, flesh them out a little bit, keep them in a nice file or in a book or whatever. And the next time that I have the fortune of being on this program, then we'll go over it more, okay? I'm going to South India because we have our youth yatra. And I have to leave on Tuesday, so I might not see you for a few weeks because we're going on the youth yatra. We'll miss you all. I hope you have a really nice next few weeks. Hopefully you get off from finals and stuff like that and take some time for yourself to write your ideas, priorities, goals, and values. Okay? Thank you very much for keeping the transcendental vibration going. And I'll just say a prayer to end. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri, put your deity's name in the chat box. Shri Shri Radhakir Chor Gopinath, Shri Shri Radha Golokananda, Shri Shri Radha Madhav. You got to be fast. Shri Shri Vrindavan, Shri Shri Radha Govinda, Shri Shri Vrindavan Natabara, Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhav, Shri Shri Nitai Sachisuta, Shri Shri Radha Madan Radha Golokananda Nitai Gorhadi. If you so desire, please bless everybody who joined Youth Jam today, all those who thought about joining Youth Jam, the few people who were going to come but they fell asleep and they couldn't make it, and everybody who comes in the future. Thanks for considering my request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Okay, Manone, Haribo.
Thank you,
Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna.
Haribol.
Okay, be a kind friend to all living beings, especially your
Yes,
family
Maharaj.
members. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Haribol. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope to see you very soon. We might be off next week.